Hey everybody. I'm going to apologize. My voice has done something funny. I don't feel sick. I have a little throaty thing, but I don't feel sick. But I've been like pretending it's been completely 100% fine all week. And now I woke up this morning and I have a little bit of a thing in my throat. So just ignore me. I feel fine. And I am having a hot flash though. So this is going to be a fun one. I'm excited to come on today to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let me just stop and say hi to Barbara. How are you? Happy Friday. Hey, Victoria from Virginia. Oh, you're recovering nicely, still a week, but hoping to be sewing room by Monday. I'm so happy to hear that, Victoria. Hey, Mary. Still cold there, plus the snow keeps coming. Oh, we did get like 5 inches on Monday, which was really nice, and it's still here because it is cold. We're getting back into the 20s and 30s. It was single digits all week, but it is starting to warm up a little bit, and we might get more snow on like Tuesday or Wednesday. So I'm enjoying the little white stuff for now. I like it. So I spent all day Saturday working on the jeans that I had started the last week. And hey, Tana, welcome. I spent all day. Oh, hey, coffee before mascara from chilly and snowy Pittsburgh. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I spent the entire day working on my jeans, and everything I want to show you in terms of sewing jeans without using your serger came out wonderful. However, you know how you know what you should be doing, right? And you know things, but then you don't think of them. Well, that's what happened with me and my fabric choice. So, oh, hey, Maureen from Connecticut. Oh, you're right in the same state with me. That's exciting. It is kind of funny how few sewers I have in my home state who follow along with me. They're very far and few between. If I had to rely on my Connecticut crowd, I think I would have had to hang up J Stern Designs because it's very rare that I even sell a pattern in Connecticut. So that's kind of a funny thing for me. So I'm super happy to see a fellow Connecticut person here with me. Welcome. Oh, that might be a good time to remind people that I am teaching 2 in-person workshops in Connecticut. One in February on the 20th, 21st and 22nd, private fitting classes at Michael's Tailoring on the East Hartford Glastonbury line. And then I'm also teaching a 3-day pants fitting workshop at the Hampton Inn in Manchester. So you can get your fitting done faster. So both of these workshops are very limited in registration. The one in February, oh my goodness, you live right in South Windsor. So not only are you a Connecticut resident with me, but we live on neighboring towns because I'm in Manchester. That's amazing. Welcome. That's exciting. I get excited about everybody. Like, I love to see where everybody is from and different states and different countries. And then, of course, I always get really excited if someone is right in my hometown. That's so cool. So I was just saying that the February event is either 1 or 2 people. So there's 1 spot left on the Thursday, Friday, and there are 2 spots on Saturday. So that's a fun one, and you don't need to bring anything because we're going to be at a tailor shop. And then the 3-day is in March 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, and that's at the Hampton Inn. And so I'll be staying there at the Hampton Inn with you. So that'll be a fun event too. So I'm really excited about these upcoming workshops because when I get to teach fitting in person, that's my ultimate love. So excited for that. And of course, I probably didn't put links to those things in the description, but they're on my website if you go to the upcoming workshop tab. They're also on my Instagram and on my Linktree, and I'll add them after if I remember. But anyway, let's get back to what I'm doing here today. So as I was saying, I worked on the jeans. I was really excited. And then I finished all the construction of the front fly and the back leg, the back yoke. And then I basted them together on the inseam and side seam. And I put them on. And all I want to say about that is yuck. I mean, they fit, but the fabric is very crinkly and it doesn't drape and it just looks yucky and it feels yucky. So this is an example of me using the wrong kind of fabric for the style that I wanted to do. So let me just switch my view here. And let me get to where we can see what I'm working on here. And let me make sure this is a good, I think this is a good view here. So remember, the goal of this was to make jeans without using your serger. And I was really clicking along with that. Look how nice my front fly is. You can see it's a very low profile, right? It's got a nice overlap. And I'm just going to turn them inside out so you can see how I constructed the fly and how nice and professional it looks without it all hitting the serger. Now, for this outer edge of the left fly piece, I did use the triple zigzag, and there are some, you know, I can pull some of this white thread, or the, you know, the white threads from the denim, but after I wash and wear that a couple times, I can just trim those right off and you'll have a really clean finish here. But notice I sewed the bottom closed. You know, I put it wrong sides together and sewed it and then turned it to the right side. So this was only the only edge I had to deal with here. And actually I could have finished it even nicer, because what I want you to do is look at this edge, and I'm going to zoom in so you can really see this. I'm going to show you how to do this. Let me just make it a little brighter because I want you to be able to see what it is that I'm showing you here. So the left fly piece, I cut 2 left fly pieces like this. So I cut 1 left fly piece, and then I cut 1 piece of my cotton fuse cotton interfacing that's fusible, and I put it, you know, right sides together, sewed along the bottom, I mean the side edge, and also I think you can see in here the bottom edge is finished, and then I turned it to the wrong, I turned the interfacing to the underside and I fused it, and it made a nice stable fly piece. So this is a way that you can clean finish edges that you know, without adding any real bulk here. I did little 1/8 inch seam allowances, so there's very little bulk in there, and it's nice and finished. And if I had wanted to, and I thought about this afterward, I could have actually put a strip of that fusible interfacing right sides together with this outer edge, stitched it, turned it under, and just fused it like a mini stay tape kind of a thing, use it as a mini facing for this side, and this could have looked really nice too. So this is how I finished the fly. And remember last week we did the pockets, so now the pockets are all sewn together. So if you want like a big view of how the inside looks, you know, if I cut these and then as I wash and wear, eventually it'll stop fraying because I have the triple zigzag there to hold it, you know, to keep it from fraying. So that's how I finish the fly. And then you'll notice if I flip it over here, oh, now we have too much snow going on. Let me make it a little bit darker. Okay, so you can see I did flat felled seams, not only for the seam between the yoke and the back leg, but I also did it down straight through the crotch. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you how to I'm going to show you how to do a flat felled seam, how to prep your pattern, and I'm also going to just show you quickly how I finish the edge with the cotton interfacing today. So that's what I'm going to show you today. And the first thing I'm going to do to show you that, I wonder if I can show you, I don't know that I can really explain why I don't like the way these look. This fabric is very crinkly, and it doesn't hang nicely from my full hip, and it just looks yucky and wrinkly. And I think I showed you how the twisted leg jeans fit me. They fit really nice. This is the same crotch. This is the same pattern. Basically, I just adjusted it for for stretch fabric. And basically, it just does not look the same, and it doesn't feel the same. So, like I said, I think what I'm going to do, and I'll do this for next week, I'm going to keep taking in my side seam to see if I can make these skinny jeans. And I think if they're skinny jeans, it will in fact work, because the whole reason why I wanted to use this denim for the style I was working on is I wanted to make a big cuff, because look at how nice that'll be. That's like a bright white cuff. So I'm going to keep working on this leg, and then when I'm finished deciding what it is I'm going to do with it, I will share that with you next week. So I'm not going to throw these away. I'm just not going to keep working on them the way I thought I was going to work on them. I need to think about it. So I'm going to move these out of the way, and let's look at this. I'm going to get my iron. I'm not going to get my iron. I'm going to just put this together here. I'm going to move my sewing machine over, and we're going to pretend this is a left fly piece, okay, with a piece of interfacing. And what I want to show you here is I'm going to zoom in, turn this on, and I'm just going to show you how I would do this. So now you have to think about it. We're Not United is asking me, can you soften it with a can of cola, or is that just for denim? That's a good question. Technically this is, denim. This is denim, but it's a very, very lightweight denim. You can see it's very lightweight, and it has some lycra in it, and I think it's the sheer lightweightness of this with the lycra that's making it crisp. But I am going to wash them some more. Maybe I will throw a can of Coke in there. Coke does an amazing job of really breaking down fibers. That's why I don't drink Coke or Diet Coke very often, because if it can do that to my fabric, what is it doing to my stomach? But I do have Diet Coke every now and then, but I always think about what it's doing to my stomach when I drink it, because I know what it does to my fabric in the washing machine. Hey Janice, welcome. I'm showing how to clean finish edges on your sewing machine without a serger using fusible interfacing. So this is cotton fuse interfacing. I have it on my website. And of course, do I have a link for that in there? No, I don't. But after I get off, I'll try to put all these links of everything I'm talking about in there. I thought I was really organized because I set up this this live this morning, and I thought everything was ready to go, and I clearly forgot about putting in my links, but I will do it. All right. So there's a smooth side, and then there's the pebbly side where the glue is. When you sew it to the fabric, you want the glue side face up. That's important, because when you turn it to the underside, you want the glue side against the wrong side. So I'm going to put my interfacing face up with the pebbly side, or the glue side face up, and I'm going to sew. I'm just going to show you here how I'm going to sew. I'm literally going to just sew really close to the edge, like this. And then when I get to the bottom, I'm just going to turn the corner and stitch right there. Then I'm going to clip this little corner here. And if I got a little crazy, I want this to be as bulk free as possible. So I'm just going to trim my allowance down to a real skinny 1/8 inch. This one I think is okay. I think my interfacing was hanging off a little bit, but basically now what I'm going to do is get my pressing surface and my iron. Okay, so now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn this to the right side like this, and then I'm going to, use something, like my tweezers or something I can get in there and just make my point nice. So I'm just going to push that through like that, just gently. I don't want to over push it. That'll be fine. And then when I press this, the important thing is I want to press it so, I'm going to start over here. I want to press it so I can see the turn of cloth ever so slightly. And so I'm just going to press this bottom edge first. And then I'm going to turn it the long way, and I'm going to press this edge. So again, I'm just showing that little turn of cloth. Like this. Now, because I'm only stitching, two sides, I could then smooth the rest of this over, and I'm just going to fuse it. We're Not United says, wish I knew garment sewers in my area. Everyone's a quilter. Oh, I know. That is something I've noticed, like around the country. Sometimes an area can be very quilt rich and less garment sewing. But you have us here. You can always join us here. I am teaching a Zoom class tomorrow on how to make leggings with pockets, which is really cool. That's going to be a fun class. All right, so see what we have now is, I didn't do the perfect job here. Like I would have wished that none of this white showed. There's a little bit of white showing there, but basically you have a nice finished edge and you don't need to use your serger. So then you would put this side against the waistline side, and then when you sew the fly piece to the front edge, the fused interfacing will also sort of protect the raw edge here from fraying more as well. So this is one way that you can finish edges without using your serger and also not add any bulk. You can see that's still very, very, soft and pliable. So that's the first thing I wanted to show you. And really, you can use any interfacing, any lightweight interfacing that you have, you can use to do this. And you can do this to any pieces or any edges that you want to finish. Okay. Now we're going to talk about a different thing. And what I want to talk about now is using a flat felled seam to finish the crotch edges. And actually, in my head, I was going to use the flat felled seam to actually finish all the edges, including the side and inseams on these jeans, so they'd all look nice and neat. Tana says, one of the sewists I follow has suggested interfacing facings by sewing it on along the outside edge, turning it, then fusing it to create a finished edge. Yes, that's just what I showed you, Tana. That's exactly what I just showed you. So you sew it like a facing, flip it, and then fuse it. See? So whoever else you're following is super smart. I love this idea. This is really a nice way to do it, because then, you're not adding bulk. I've actually used strips of cotton interfacing to finish armhole edges and neckline edges as well. So you can use it like a facing on garments where you want to finish them, in addition to cutting second pieces like this. So very good idea. Tana has good taste for the people she's following, obviously. That's a good idea. I love it. Okay. All right. So what I want to show you here first is, here is a section of a jeans pattern. And if you're going to be doing flat felled seams on your jeans, I highly recommend increasing your seam allowance so you have more to work with. So obviously you'd have to do this before you cut out your pieces so you have that extra. And again, I just want to remind you what this looks like. In the end, I added an inch for my seam allowance here, and then you can see the reason why I added an inch is because like a half an inch of it is going to be folded back down on itself. Okay, so I want a nice wide flat felled seam here. So I added an inch over here like this. And so then what I did for this sample, oops, that I'm going to work with is I just cut this out. So I cut out this little pretend crotch seam. It's a curved seam. I just want to show you how you can work with it to make a flat felled seam. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to sew my edges together using an inch allowance like this. You know, and you could probably get away with a hat, like you probably can get away with 3/4 of an inch as well, but I'm going to show you a really nice wide version. And I'm just going to sew this. Now, this is just a tip for sewing stretch. Sometimes if I'm working with stretch jeans especially, and I want to make more ease in my crotch, I will stretch the curve as I sew a little bit. You can see I'm just stretching it a little bit. All right, so I've sewn my seam. Oh, and what did I do wrong already? So, all right, so what did I do wrong already? I put right sides together. So for a flat felled seam, they should be face out like this, and I am just going to fix that really quick because it'll only take me a second to just tear this out. I'm just going to tear it out like this and do it the right way. So again, if you're doing flat felled seams, you want to make sure, first step, that your right sides are face out. Okay, so I'm just going to do this one more time here. Put these together. And look, now I have a guideline to sew on. Yes, wrong sides together so the right sides are face out. I got it, Mary. Okay. All right. So here we go. Take two. All right. Okay, so let's try this again. Now again, I'm going to stretch it slightly, just to give myself a little bit more give there. All right. All right, so now we're cooking with gas. Oh, no, Mary, it's not a delay for you. It's a delay for the video. Like sometimes when I'm looking at something, like if I'm doing a live and I can look at my monitor, which is showing me what I'm doing. But I'm looking at what you guys are watching and there is a delay in the video. So don't worry, you're fine. And I just want everyone to know, like, if you see me doing something that's wrong, please tell me. I'm not offended. Like, it's hard to sit here, sew, talk, think, and do all the things. So every now and then I go off the wire. So feel free to, feel free to let me know if I'm doing something wrong. All right, We're Not United would like to know, class tomorrow is here on your channel or is it a membership only? It's a Zoom class that I'm hosting. And I will tell you that I'm making it extremely generous time-wise. It's a 5-hour class for $50. At this point, you could get the PDF version if you want to join me, of this pattern, the Trident yoga pants. And then you just need 4-way stretch fabric, and you can tape this together. All you have to do is have the pattern taped together, and I'll send you the Zoom link because I already sent it out to my class. But if you'd like to join me, it's in my upcoming workshops tab on my website at jsterndesigns.com. And it's going to be a really fun class because we're going to cover a lot of things. We're going to cover how to fit the leggings so they don't slide down. We're going to cover how to design your own custom pocket in the side panel. And then I'm going to show how to do knits and serger techniques working with knits. So it's going to be a really fun class. Oh, Barbara says, of course we learn from our mistakes and yours. Oh yes, I am the queen of mistakes. I'm just gonna, while I'm here, since it'll only take me a second, I'm just gonna pop to my, here's the, if you want to check it out, here is the link to the yoga pants class. And if anybody wants the link to any of the other fitting workshops, just let me know and I'll just pop them up there and then you can have them. All right, so I've sewn this right now. Let's go to the next step. Okay, putting my table view back. Let's get the pressing thing up here now. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to press my seam allowances open like this. So I'm literally going to just, you know, press it and steam it so it's open. Turn it like this. Sometimes if you have a curve, it can be helpful to use your ham when you're on the curve. So in this case, I'd have to put it, you know, I'd have to put it seam allowance face down so it's going with the shape of the curve. But basically, the first thing I want to do is make sure that the seam allowances are pressed completely open, because we want to make sure we have the entire seam allowance, you know, the entire width of the seam allowance available to us as we do our flat felled seam. You know, and of course, working on this little bit of a curve will make it just a little bit easier. Now that I've got it, I'm just going to turn it around and just double check that I've got this part here. I just want to make sure this is all nice and flat. I'm just going to get this one little area in here. Okay, so now that I've pressed my allowances open, the next step is you want to decide which way you're going to finish your what's your final direction for your flat felled seam, and that's going to depend on which way you pressed your front. Oh, and let me just stop here and see, Mary says, sometimes if I make too many mistakes, I put it away for a day, then I make a cup of tea. Mistakes keep us humble. Oh, they absolutely do, and that's why I will always be humble. I'll be completely honest with you. Like, I literally am the queen of mistakes, and I'm okay with that. I mean, I really feel like the only people not making mistakes are the people not making things or trying new things. So I'm fine with making mistakes, and I do think walking away is a really good idea. Hey Sylvia, sorry you're late. Nice to hear you twice in this week. Oh, did you watch the podcast, the Breaking Sewing Rules podcast? That was so much fun. If you guys are not aware of this, I had put a link in my Instagram for the Breaking Rules podcast, and I was the one that was on Monday. And since you bring that up, Sylvia, I'm going to tell you, she asked me about how I break the rules. And one of my big things is I'm not super concerned what kind of needle I have in my machine, because, you know, I can usually get away with, you know, whatever needle I have. So I had a denim needle in my machine, and I was trying to finish the pocket for the class tomorrow. And what kept happening was, let me just make this, I want to just make this really sharp so you can see it, and light so you can see it. So what was happening was I had a denim needle in my machine. I didn't bother checking it, and it kept pushing the fabric into the zigzag, you know, into the zigzag hole in the needle plate. And so I changed, and I even put paper under it. Do you know that the denim needle pushed this knit through the little zigzag hole in my needle plate, even with paper underneath? So I thought to myself, what the heck is going on? And then I realized I had a denim needle in there, so I switched it to a stretch needle, and now we're good. But actually, having said that, breaking the rules, I used a stretch needle to sew this. So there you go. I am just not good at using the needle that I quote unquote should be using, or the specialty needle that I should be using. I only change it if I end up having a problem, like I did with, you know, with, if I have a problem with what I'm sewing, that's what I, that's when I change it. Oh, that's how Maureen found me, Breaking the Rules podcast. Oh, that's so cool. You know, and that was the first time I met Tina. She is wonderful. Like, she is such a sweet lady, sweet person. I love talking with her. So if you have a chance, you can go back and watch the replays of the podcast. You didn't miss it. You missed the live. And I was actually listening to Made by Ray when I was getting ready for this, because it's from noon to 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So I was watching it in the background while I was prepping for this. So, oh, Sylvia says it's a stretch jean, so stretch needle is okay. Yeah, I mean, usually I have universal needles in there, and usually the universal needles do the job. So here's what we're going to do next. I'm going to fold my, I am going to fold this in half again, because I want to be able to get to one seam allowance. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to literally trim. I'm not going to use those scissors. I'm going to use, I need a bigger blade. I'm going to use these little hangers. Okay. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim this to like 3/8 of an inch. Like this. So I'm just trimming along 3/8 of an inch from the seam. I'm going to turn it like this and work this way now. Oh, Sylvia says the replays are there. I watched Tomcat also. If you look up on Google, you'll see the Zooms. They're interesting. I have to go back and watch Tomcat Stitchery. I think she's another cool person, and I haven't had a chance to really get to know her, but I do want to watch her. And then my friend Cal Patch is going to be on next week, I think, unless I missed it already, but I want to check her out as well. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I really had a fun time. Okay, so you can see I trimmed off, you know, this much. So let me turn it back now so you can see it. I'm going to open it back up. Okay, so you can see what I have here is one short one and one long one. And actually, if I didn't have this curve right here, I would have just laid it flat to trim, because that's easier, but it's hard to trim it flat on a curve. That's why I laid it like this. I laid it down like this because that's easier versus trying to trim it spread open like this on a curve. And that's why I'm showing you how to do it on a curve, in case you want to, you know, in case you want to try this on your entire center back seam here. So I'm going to start on this side, and the next step is I'm going to turn, well, no, the next step is I'm going to push this trimmed seam allowance. I'm going to push it to the side. And again, I'm just going to be really careful. I want to try to keep the shape of that curve. You know what I mean? So I'm not smashing it here. I'm just nudging it over. You know, and then over here I can smash it down because this is flat. You know, so, and of course, anywhere I can use my clapper to hold it, I can. I'm noticing with this denim, if I put too much hot heat in it, it's making it curl. So I'm getting a little bit of curling action going on here. So I'm going to use my clapper to calm that down. Oh, Cal Patches Thursday, January 30th. If anybody's interested in slow sewing, like hand sewing an entire garment, visible mending, also knitting and crochet, Cal is amazing. I love her. We became friends when we taught together at the Stitches events. And I think she is so cool. I love her. Okay, so now that I've got it pressed over like this, the next step is I'm going to press the longer seam allowance over the trimmed one. And that is how you create a real deal, you know, real deal flat felled seam. A flat felled seam encases one seam allowance like that. Does that make sense to everybody? So I'm going to just finger press first. You know, and then I can, once I get it going in the direction I want, and as I'm doing this, I'm sort of making sure the width between this folded edge and my seam is uniform. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a press, the straight edge. And then once I press it, I'm going to use the clapper to hold it for a second. I'm just going to do it a little piece at a time. You can see I'm making a wrinkled mess with this denim because of the lycra in it. It's not loving the temperature of my iron. I probably should I probably should cool it off a little bit. Oh, thank you, Sylvia. I love when I'm teaching, I will say, all right, you do X, Y, Z. Does that make sense? And I always love it when people says, yes, that makes sense. Ouch. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is after I get that, I am just going to use my wonderful magic pins that do not melt to hold it in position for me like this. And I think I might have told you, I use my my magic clips to beat my fabric into submission, meaning I will clip edges that need to stay folded together, and then I'll leave them for like, I don't know, a day, and then I come back and I take the clips off, and whatever I had wanted to happen stays that way even if I take the clip out. So this is another thing you can do. Like, let's say you're doing slow sewing, like you're not trying to finish this in one day. You could actually press these things, get them going in the direction that you want, like I'm doing here, and then press them, pin them, and then walk away. And what will happen is when you come back to do the final press job, it'll just very nicely stay put for you. So, I'm just pinning it now because as I work with it, I want it to stay, I want this edge to stay encasing that other edge. Now I'm in this little tight part of the corner here. So I'm not going to try to press that. I'm just going to finger press this one right here. But you can see, if I leave this alone for a while, this area, eventually it's going to make the crease or the fold on the outer edge of this flat felled seam It's going to make it a thing, right? Now, I'm not going to go away and come back because we're here working on it. So after I get it like that, I'm going to take the pins out. And I'm literally going to just flip it flat. And I'll just do it a little bit at a time. So here we have, and I'm going to give it a little press. Sylvia's asking if I starch it, if it would behave better. It very well might, but also I think my iron is too hot. I have it set at cotton linen. I probably should have it, let me move it down. That's another thing, I break the rules. I don't ever use the right setting on my iron. And sometimes that bites me in the ass. So again, I'm going to put a pin here. I'm going to put a pin here. Now as I'm pinning it, the other thing I'm checking is I'm pulling it to make sure I'm not trapping any extra fabric under there. So I'm going to go ahead and put some pins. Like this. And then over here on the curve, I can take the pin out and put it in here. And then down here, I could take the pin out and just switch it from being under to being over like this. I'm going to take this last pin out and pin it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it around and just double check. I want to make sure there's no fabric caught, like so the seam opens all the way, because it is possible when you're folding it to actually, you know, get some loose fabric over the seam. And what that does is it just makes it smaller. Hey Diane, welcome. It's okay to be late, you guys. I just love it that you show up. So if you're late, it's still wonderful. Okay. All right, so see now what I have here is, I have this. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to give it a little press right on top of my pins, because if you're using a pin that doesn't have a plastic ball on it, which I don't even know, I'm sure they still sell them. I think quilting pins still have the plastic balls, but you know, having pins that don't melt help. Now what I noticed here, in here, it was a little bit wider, so I'm just going to roll it back a little to keep the whole thing very uniform. So I'm double checking that the width of the flat felled seam from the stitched line to the fold is accurate all the way down, so it looks nice and neat. Now here's another thing you can do. We are going to top stitch this now. And the thing about this is we already have one row of stitching, right? So there's a row of stitching showing right here. Just make this really sharp so you can see what I'm talking about. If you don't want this row of stitching to show, you can baste this seam and then take this stitching out after you top stitch both sides of the flat felled seam. So this stitching shows. It's not doing anything but keeping the seam closed, right? It's sewn the two layers together, or the right and left side together. But the way I do the back yoke, let me just show you that one. Ouch, oops, I'm sorry, I banged my head on my camera. So what I want you to look at really closely here is I basted the seam between the yoke and the back leg. And then after I did these 2 rows of top stitching, I pulled out the stitching, and I think you can see it. See how there's little holes there? I didn't press it yet, but I just want to show you. So see how there's no, the original row of stitching above this top stitching is not there because I took the basting out. So if you want to get rid of, if you want to get rid of that initial construction seam, just use a long basting stitch, and then it's easy to take out. Now here, oops, here I didn't do that. So I'm not going to try to take the stitch out because this is like a 2.5 stitch length. I'm going to leave that there, but just know that baste this if you want to take it out after. And I did do that to the back yoke. Oh, and you know what? See, now this is the difference between me sewing by myself without being on camera versus being on camera. I did that on this. So see how if you look really closely at my this is the center back seam now. You can see there is no extra stitch there. You can see the little holes. I took the basting out here too. So this is how it looks if you actually take the basting out. Okay, so while I did not baste here, just know, baste them together and take that seam out, and then it looks like it's factory made versus homemade. All right. Okay, so that's that. Now I'm gonna go back to the sewing machine and we're gonna sew. And I think Vicki last week gave me the brilliant idea of using the triple straight stitch to top stitch if you don't have top stitching thread handy that's in the color you need. Oh, Dolores says that you love this flat fell technique. Oh, well, thank you so much. I'm really, I love trying different things, new things, different things. And I was really thinking about all the people who don't own a serger, and I wanted to really help them by showing some techniques that you can use to, if you don't have a serger. Now, what I'm doing is I'm changing my wider zigzag for my little straight stitch foot because that'll just be easier for me to get a more accurate stitching. So I'm just going to switch this out here. All right, let me just put the right, let me get my little, and by the way, I know I've showed you this probably every time now. I love this thing. This, it's So Emma Sew Organizer, because I keep my screwdrivers right here, and I keep this little piece of chalk right here and all my favorite things in there. And I haven't lost the screwdriver once or had to look for it once because I just leave it right in my little It's So Emma organizer. Okay, let me just get this. So let me loosen this. So I'm going to take that off. I'm working on the Janome Memory Craft 6700P, and I love it, love it, love it because it has built-in walking feet or built-in dual feed, in the feet. So I love having that. Barbara says, love the triple straight stitch and much better than top stitching thread. Well, it's also convenient because you don't have to worry about switching threads and having a top stitching needle. The only downside to it is it just takes longer to stitch because it's basically, running each stitch 3 times over itself. So you just have to be patient with it. That's the only downside. All right, so now I'm going to get this, and the first thing we're going to do is we are going to stitch on the, outer edge. So I want to stitch next to the fold first. So I'm going to get that right there, and I'm going to put my, wait a minute. Oh, I'm sorry. I can just do it right here. Number 4, stitch number 4. So I'm doing my triple stitch. I'm going to take this first pin out. And I'm just going to make sure that everything is behaving in there. And we're just going to start stitching. Oh, and I'm going to make my stitch length like 3.5 or so, because you don't want it to be too short. Oops. Now see, I'm going really slow because I want to stay right on the edge, and I want to allow it to, all the overlapping stitches to really line up with each other. The other thing about this stitch that makes it a little bit more difficult to do a neat job is the fact that it goes back and forth. It's hard to guide it because it's going like this. Sylvia says, I actually want to make another jeans and make flat felled seams instead of sewing, overlock, and top stitching. Put one right side over the other based and turn seam allowance to sew flat. The triple, that's a good idea, Sylvia. And Mary says the triple straight stitch makes sure I sew slowly. Ripping it out is not easy. No, it's not. It is. When it gets in there, it really gets in there. So you really need to take your time. And you know how I love to take my time, but for this, I am going to take my time. Okay, I'm going to take this pin out. Now I'm going to try to make it so it can be its shape. So I'm allowing it to curve like this a little bit. I just want to make sure it's, you know, not getting misshapen. All right, so I've got that. Okay, and you can see how lovely that looks, right? You know, and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do this side, and you can see this will be actually a good comparison of how it looks when you leave that construction seam in there versus pulling it out after, you know, basting it and then pulling it out. Okay, so again, I'm going to make sure I'm allowing it to you know, and remember, you only have to be really accurate until you get past the big back crotch curve, because this is between your legs. No one's going to see this. This is the inseam. Oh, Sylvia says your machine is expensive. Well, you know what? I don't even know how much this costs because my friend gifted it to me, this Janome, because he wanted the newer, bigger, better one. So my guess is this particular model is, even though it's a little bit of money, is less than it was before the new model came out. All right, so let's look at this now. Oh, Sylvia says it looks so lovely with variegated thread. Oh, that's a good idea, variegated thread. Okay, so you can see, you know, it looks pretty good. I did get a little close here. See how I'm like almost off the edge right there? But in the big scheme of things, like I said to you, this part of the crotch seam is in between your legs. Like, so if you're looking at your back view, you know, if you get a little wonky, it's okay because it's going to go around the bottom of you like this, right? So you only see the top part. This part's in between your legs. Oh, it's 19, what is that, euros? Or I don't know what that symbol is. I'm sorry. I'm bad on the foreign what the the money is in foreign countries. But anyway, that's how you do the flap felt seam. And I really like the fact that it looks just as nice on the inside as it does on the outside. So you can do this for all of your big construction seams. And then you don't have to worry about having a serger. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. And I just want to say I'm super excited because I was really worried. And I took one of these Mucinex makes these sore throat cough drops that you can't eat like candy because they actually have medicine in them. But they do a good job of preventing coughing. I sucked on one before I came on, and I was really worried I'd have like a coughing jag, but I didn't. So I'm like super excited. So these Mucinex things are really cool, but you again, you can't eat them like candy. You have to just read the package and have one every now and then. But anyway, so Victoria says, looks very professional. Currency. Yes, currency. I get from my PayPal when people, when I sell things like on that Makerist website, that's a European website for patterns, I have to convert my money I get from them to dollars. But anyway, so that's all I know about different currencies for different countries. I know there's euros, and I know that there's pesos, and I know there's different things, but I don't pay attention to that so much. All right, so Mary says your eye sees what they want to see when you look at clothing, stitching, etc. Most people don't see wonky seams. Well, that is so true, Mary. And on top of it, I was looking at some of my ready-to-wear things that I collected over the years, and some of the stitching is downright embarrassing. And I'm talking about jeans I spent $200 for. So don't be too hard on yourself with your top stitching because, don't be too critical of yourself, because another thing is when you're looking at your work, you're examining it and you're looking at it through a microscope. But when it's on your body, you're moving and shaking, and no one's going to know if it's a little jiggly. So just be gentle with yourself when it comes to the quality of your top stitching. If it's not 100% perfect, no one's going to notice. You're going to be fine. All right, so let me just see. Oh, Sylvia says Makerist is closing, actually. Oh, I didn't realize. I didn't know that. That's just a little side thing I've had some patterns on for many years now, and really, I don't put any effort into promoting it, so I might make 4 or 5 euros every month. Like, it's not a big deal. So, but I do feel bad for, that is closing, for you. I'm sorry. I think it was a good place to get things, because then you didn't have to ship them through the, with all the, if there's fees to ship across to a different country. I thought that was kind of a cool idea. Dolores says, I love this. Also, I do not have a serger. It's a game changer. Yeah, so, I'm going to really try to help with those things. And so tomorrow when I teach my yoga pants class, I'm going to give strategies for people who don't have a serger to sew knit leggings as well, because you can totally stitch knit garments on a sewing machine. So that's what I have for today. Oh yes, Sylvia goes, we are very critical of our work. We have to be gentle to ourselves because we do our best and we are good. That's exactly right. And I don't know if you guys saw this. If I can find it quick, I'm going to show it to you. Hold on. I think I put it. Where did I put it? Oh, here it is. All right. So I was flicking through Vogue magazine. I subscribe to that because I do like to have. Print things to look at, and I tear the pages out and I will use them. I'll use them for inspiration. But what I noticed in here, let me see if I can find it quick. It's a skinny magazine. This magazine is getting skinnier and skinnier by the second. But here is a Vogue spread. And what I want you to look at in this spread is, I want you to look at all the wrinkles in the jeans walking around in this spread in Vogue magazine. That's how you look when you're walking around in jeans. Even if your jeans fit perfectly, there's gonna be wrinkles. So I thought that was fascinating. I actually put that on my stories, Instagram stories, a little while back. And then look at this. Like, talk about oversized jeans. Where was the oversized jeans in here? Hold on. Hold on, I'll find them. Okay, so look at the wrinkles on those jeans. And then, oh, look at this. Look at that mom in these jeans. I mean, look how those fit. And that's in Vogue magazine, and that's actually one of the garments that they are sharing about in this picture, are those very big, very loosely fitted jeans. And then look at these. These jeans have all of this sparkle at the hem, and they're actually, I think they're Chanel. Yeah, Chanel jeans. So look at all that big, loose, wrinkly, and then look at all this nice, can I show it? I don't even know if I can show it. It's got like little sparkles, beads at the hem. So I thought that was very interesting to look at. Yeah, that's Mom losing her jeans. Exactly. Look at that. She totally is. And then her kids have their school uniforms on. I recognize that because my girls went to East Catholic, so they had a similar kind of uniform with khaki pants and a blue sweater, or khaki skirt and a blue sweater. Yeah, you guys see that a bit there? I know, I'm also jealous because all the European versions of Vogue are so much more interesting than the American version, I'll be completely honest. Oh, look at this. This is a dress or a skirt. What is this? This is a skirt, and it's basically just all sewn together from jeans. I thought that was kind of cool. There's all kinds of funky stuff in here, so that's why I like to look at the Vogue. But in any case, all right, so that's really all I wanted to share with you today. This weekend, I have a fun little thing. I'm actually going to be babysitting my sister's dog, but I have to go to her house to babysit because her little doggie has an ACL injury, and I can't bring her to my house because my 3 dogs are so hyper that I have to keep them separate. So I'm going to go over to my sister's house and sort of have a vacation from my house, which I think is going to be really nice and relaxing. I will come home tomorrow to teach my class, and then I'll go back and sleep over again tomorrow night. So that's going to be kind of cool. Mary says, I make straight leg jeans for myself, never cared about fashion. I don't usually change sizes, so I wear them for years. I know, that's so cool. Like I'm with you, Mary. Like I make whatever style I like, and I try to wear them as long as I can. Now, happily, I'm going back in the direction I was, and I might be able to fit into some of my jeans I've grown out of if I keep going, so we'll see. But I do change sizes, so I need to make them occasionally. But yeah. Oh, upcycled. Yeah. Okay. So Sylvie's asking about that skirt and whether it was upcycled. I mean, it's coming as a ready-to-wear garment, so I don't know. Like when they take the time to take something that looks like it was jeans and then mash it together into a skirt, are they taking apart jeans and making them into a skirt? I don't know. That's something pretty cool we could research. But that is an interesting topic, and yeah, so that's my report. So I'm gonna go find a pattern to knit a very simple like lap blanket. I'm gonna bring that with me. I'm gonna bring my computer with me, so if I want to do some work, I can. And I'm just gonna have a nice, relaxing weekend by myself, away from my husband and my daughter, my 3 dogs, and my stepson. So I'll miss them. I'll come back, but it will be nice to have a little bit of a break. But in any case, I want to thank you all for joining me. As always, this is really the highlight of my week. I love coming on and spending time with you, and I'm super happy with my Mucinex cough throat drop because I didn't have a coughing fit, so I'm super excited. All right, Barbara says, enjoy your vacation from your own home. I will. It's going to be nice. And of course, my sister was feeling so grateful that I'm going to do this, that she said she left me a bunch of goodies. So I have a goodies waiting for me when I get there. So that's kind of fun. All right. Maureen says, thank you for the interfacing session. I'm taking apart clothes that have been wearing, going from a size 3X to a large. Thank you again. Well, that's very cool, Maureen. Good luck fixing all those things. If you ever need any help, let me know. Yeah, so thank you guys for hanging out. And Maureen, thank you for finding me. I'm glad you found me because of the podcast. That podcast was a lot of fun. I am going to go back and watch all the ones I missed. Yeah, so that's everything. So I hope you guys have a great weekend. I'm going to, and yay, enjoy. I'll see you next week with maybe some skinny jeans. I'm going to try to make those, the jeans I'm working on, into skinny jeans so I can look like an apple on a stick. All right. Bye-bye, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.